Okay, today we want to cover a different topic. Basically, the topic that we want to cover is as follows. What exactly is the goal of science? Now, some people might tell you the goal of science is to acquire knowledge. That would not be true, because I've noticed that whenever scientists find new knowledge that does not correspond with established theories, what they do is they throw the knowledge away rather than change the theory. Eventually, the amount of knowledge becomes so overwhelming that they have no choice. And a new crop of scientists is born that changes the theory to accommodate the overwhelming evidence. For example, scientists back in the 1700s said that leeches would help to suck poison out of a sick person. Where exactly did they get that data from? How exactly did they arrive at that data? You know, they're constantly changing their story. And, you know, did they have any data at all to prove that leeches were actually helping to suck poison out of people who were sick? It's like they just make stuff up and then they say, well, that's just the way it is. Here's another example. Scientists say whatever is politically correct at that moment. For example, the scientists who were in Nazi Germany said that the Aryans were the master race. They said that they were genetically superior. Not only were they superior, but they even had proof. And the proof that they used was that their science was superior to the science of other countries. For example, the Germans had the B-2 rocket. We didn't have anything like the B-2 rocket. They had the Messerschmitt jet, which is a lot faster than our propeller planes. And you might ask yourself, well, then why didn't they win the war? Well, Germany is the size of one of our states. We have 50 states. So we're a lot bigger than Germany. We have a lot bigger in terms of resources, in terms of population, in terms of land area. So that's why we won the war. But technologically, they were superior. Well, nobody in Germany believes that anymore. Nobody says, oh, no, but we're superior. You see, we're the master race. Nobody talks about that anymore. They act like that never happened. For example, in the 1950s in the United States, people that were gay were considered to be mentally ill. Now, in 1972, they said, oh, no, they're not mentally ill. They're perfectly sane. All the way till 2012, people who wanted to change their sex were told that they were suffering from gender identity disorder all the way till 2012. Now they say they're perfectly sane. They don't suffer any disorder. What you see is that science changes whatever it says to whatever is politically correct at that minute. And later on they just say something different. They're constantly changing their story. And whatever they say today, tomorrow it doesn't hold, because tomorrow they'll have a different story to tell you. It's kind of like a used car salesman who wants to sell you a junk car, and he's always changing his story to sell you the car. Whatever he thinks will sell you the car is what he will tell you. Now, whatever the truth is, that's very far away from what he's telling you. He doesn't care what the truth is, he just wants to sell you the junk car. And once he sells you the junk car and he gets your money, he doesn't want you around anymore. And just says, well, I don't want to talk about that anymore, I'm very busy right now. He just runs out of the room, because he already stole your money. That's basically how it works. And that's how it is with science. If they really believe these things, well, where's the evidence? Why are they constantly changing whatever they say? One day they say one thing, and another day they turn around and say the exact opposite. They're constantly changing. One minute they say one thing, the next minute they turn around, they say the opposite. And they're doing that again and again and again. And what that leads me to believe is that science basically is based on nothing. It's whatever they want to say. They gather the evidence to fit the theory. They don't gather evidence for any other reason. They just want evidence to prove their theory. It's not that they gather a bunch of evidence and then they come up with a theory. No, they already have a theory in their minds, and then they gather evidence to prove it. That's how they work. And their theory is whatever is politically correct. For example, in the 1950s, oh, well, somebody does that, oh, that means they're mentally ill. Oh, well, it doesn't mean that anymore. Well, where's the new evidence that shows me why you changed your theory? Oh, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm very busy right now. They just run out of the room. Whatever they say is whatever fits their theory. And if the evidence becomes overwhelming that they're wrong, then they just say, oh, I don't want to talk about that anymore. For example, in the 1950s, scientists were saying that cigarettes did not cause cancer. And what they would do is they would ridicule people. And they would say, well, I've been smoking all my life. I don't have cancer. Therefore, you're a liar because you say it causes cancer. And as a result, a lot of people continued smoking and died of lung cancer. And where were those scientists getting their money? From tobacco companies. Of course, they will say whatever they're told to say. And later on, when the truth comes out, because the evidence is just so overwhelming, they'll say, well, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm very busy right now. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I mean, look at now. They're saying that cell phones don't cause cancer. And where are these scientists getting the money? Oh, from cell phone companies. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it that in the future they'll find out that cell phones do cause cancer. And what will those scientists say when they're confronted? They'll say, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm very busy right now. They'll just run out of the room. That's what they always do. They just lie constantly, and then they change their story. Whatever they say today does not have any value tomorrow. They'll just say whatever they're paid to say. They're like parrots. They'll just repeat whatever they're told. And then they'll ask for money. I mean, look at the global warming thing. They've been telling us that Miami's going to be underwater, that all these things are going to happen. Later on, they'll just say, oh, I never said global warming, I said global cooling. There's going to be a new ice age. They'll constantly change their story to whatever they think will get them what they want. It's just like a used car salesman selling you a junk car. Oh no, it's got a really small engine and it's great because you're like, wait a minute, that car doesn't have a small engine. That's a V8. That has a huge engine. Oh yeah, well it's a really big car, so it's really safe. You know, you need a car that's safe. I mean, the guy's constantly lying. He can't stop lying because that's the way he is. That's how scientists are. They're constantly saying one thing and then turning around and saying the opposite. Don't believe a liar. And trust me, telling you that something's a certain way and then later on suddenly shifting because, well, that's not politically correct anymore. Let me just change my story now. Oh, I have some new evidence over here. Well, wait a minute, I don't have any evidence. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll just tell everybody that disagrees with me that they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, think about it. They've changed their story so many times that they don't really have a leg to stand on anymore. I mean, everything they've said is things like, well, if it wasn't for us, there wouldn't be any science. I mean, think about it. Back in the 1800s, scientists could have developed the airplane. The science was there. You know, there was plenty of resources in terms of they had colleges with researchers and laboratories. They had everything they needed to develop the airplane. In fact, if they had needed more money, they could have just gone to the railroads and they could have said, look, we have this new method of transportation. It goes through the air and it's going to be a lot faster. And it's going to be a lot better than a train. You're going to be able to transport huge amounts of people in very little time. They didn't do any of that. What they did was they laughed at people who were developing airplanes and they said, man has been trying to fly for thousands of years, therefore it's impossible. Because we haven't been able to fly, therefore it's impossible. What they did was ridicule other people. It was up to 2 bicycle repairmen to develop the airplane. And here's the interesting part. Those 2 bicycle repairmen were the bishop's sons. You know, they came from a religious family. These people, they didn't go to college. You know, think about it. Did Edison go to college? What about Tesla? I mean, think about it. The majority of people who've made the big breakthroughs, you know, the Bill Gates of the world, you know, dropped out of college. The Steve Jobs of the world dropped out of college. No, I didn't drop out of college. I actually finished college and I got a bachelor's in science. It was a waste of time and money. Scientists will say whatever they want at that moment, and then later on, all your knowledge becomes worthless because they'll just change. They'll turn on a dime. They'll say, oh, that's wrong. Well, we have a new theory now. And the reason they have the new theory isn't because they have new evidence. It's because the old theory isn't politically correct anymore. For example, they'll say, oh, well, all those scientists in Nazi Germany that said that Germany was a superior race, what happened to them when they lost World War II? Did they suddenly say, oh wow, we discovered this new evidence? No, they just changed their theory. They always change their theory. They always want to be politically correct. Oh, well, we're really not a master race. Well, that theory was wrong. Well, why would they spend years of their lives claiming that something's true and then suddenly change. Well, because it's not politically correct anymore. They'll say anything and everything that they think will get them a promotion, that they think will get them a grant. They don't care what the truth is. They have no respect for the truth. None whatsoever. Zero. They'll just say whatever they think, and they won't say, hey, wait a minute. I don't care what you say. Here's what the evidence says. They never say that because it would not be politically correct. They would lose their job. They would lose tenure. And they'd just rather not go through that. They would just rather say whatever they think will get them the promotion. Whatever they think will get them what they want. It's just like a used car salesman. He'll say whatever he thinks will sell the car. He doesn't care that the car is a piece of junk. He doesn't care about any of that. He'll just say, oh, well, look, I don't want to talk about it anymore, and just run out of the room. Once you confront him with, that car is a piece of junk, I took it to the mechanic, he says the engine's shot, and it needs a new engine. He also told me it needs a new transmission, and you lied to me. What do you think the used car salesman's going to do? You think he's going to say, oh, wow, I'm sorry, I didn't know it had a bad transmission. It always worked great when I was using it. No. He'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm very busy right now. I don't want to talk about that anymore, and he'll just run out of the room. He already stole your money. He doesn't care. The only thing he'll talk about is how it's not his fault and he didn't do anything wrong. Because he'll say, well, I don't know. That guy had that car for a month. I don't know what he did with that car. Yeah, that's his problem, not mine. Look, I'm very busy right now. Excuse me. And he'll run out of the room. That's what he does. It's just like a scientist. They don't care what the truth says. They don't care what the evidence says. They just say whatever they think will get them the promotion. And after that, they'll say, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Because they don't want to talk about it anymore. What do you think will happen, 50 years in the future, when people see that there is no sea level rise, when they see that the oceans haven't gone up? The scientists that are still alive, they'll be in their 80s and 90s. What do you think they'll say when someone says, hey, buddy, you told me Miami was going to be underwater. You told me all these things. Well, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm very old. I don't remember anything. I'm very, very busy right now. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's what they'll say, and they already took all that money to do all that research, and they knew it was a lie from the day one. They knew there was not going to be any sea level rise. They knew all of that. They don't care. They never cared. And the only thing they'll do is say more lies. They'll make up another theory. They'll just keep making it up. Think of it this way. In the 1950s, people built docks, right? In Miami. Are those docks underwater now? 60 years later? No. Do you think those docks will be underwater 60 years in the future? Again, no. But the scientists that are alive now, who staked their career on sea level rise, who said, oh, those docks will be underwater and the sea level is going to go up, what do you think those people will do 60 years in the future? A lot of them will still be alive. They'll be old. Like I said, they'll be in their 80s, they'll be in their 90s. They'll still be around, a lot of them. What do you think they'll do? What they'll do is what they've always done. I don't want to talk about that. I'm very busy right now. I don't want to talk about that anymore. They'll just run out of the room. That's what they've always done. That's what they will always do. They say one lie and then they turn around and say another one. They don't care. They've never cared what the truth is. That is not important to a scientist. The only thing that's important to a scientist is making stuff up and getting money. That's the only thing that's important to them. That's the only thing that's ever been important to them.